Welcome back to DeRo and the Diehard. I'm your host, Ben Botelho, and with me is the legendary Dwayne, Rosario. DeRo, how you doing, man? Next week, Christmas? You got any plans?
Bundled up, man.
You're
I'm bundled up. We're bundled up.
You feeling cold?
It's cold, man. It's cold. We're layered.
Go through an Arctic expedition out here.
It is cold in Toronto, but we're looking forward to a heated, hot new year ahead of us. Excited for the holidays. Yeah, gonna spend time with the family and I'm sure everyone is doing the same and looking forward to bringing in the new year. Exciting and with a lot of great expectations on the horizon.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think this is the coldest I've ever experienced in Toronto ever in the history of my life.
More snow, too. A lot of snow.
Snow. Why is it negative 20 every day with wind chill? I don't know. It's getting to me. I'm thankful I'm leaving the country shortly. But yeah, we got an interesting show today. We got a couple of things that I want to pick your brain about regarding MLS history and some players and stuff like that. So we'll come out the gate pretty hot. This morning I was looking at a list. of the top 10 MLS teams in the history of the league. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Because obviously a lot of these teams are in your era. It was the golden era, it seems, of the MLS. Apart from a few, obviously, which is good news for us. Because TFC is in here. I'm not going to tell you where, though. And I just want to see how you feel about the list and where you would rank them and where you would put some of your past teams, if they're in here or not. Now, at number 10, if you remember, the New England Revolution from 05 to 07. They won 3 straight Eastern Conference titles, and they got the 2007 U.S. Open Cup. What do you remember about that team? What do you remember about that team being good?
Young Clint Dempsey, Taylor Twellman, banging goals for fun. Everyone's understood each other's roles and responsibilities. Well-balanced team. And I remember beating them twice in MLS Cup final. That's what I remember.
That's why they're only 10th on the list, baby. That's why they're only 10th.
No, but definitely a team worth mentioning for sure.
Just not enough to show for it, right? And obviously, there were better teams if you're losing twice in the MLS Cup final.
Yeah,
you know what
Pat
I mean?
Noonan, couple of players that actually went on had good careers post-playing days. Mm-hmm. So hats off to New England for sure.
All right, number 9, the Kansas City Wizards from 2000 to 2004. Their accolades are the 2000 MLS Cup, the 2000 Supporters Shield, and then 4 years later, the 2004 U.S. Open Cup. Heroics from Tony Meola. Mm-hmm. They obviously stopped that really good Chicago Fire team in the 2004 Cup run. What do you remember about that team?
Again, another hardworking team. Preki, MVP of the MLS those years. Well-supported team at the time. Kansas City was a team that you really didn't know what you were going to get. They were an unorthodox team. Mm-hmm. You know, they had they were just very committed, hardworking, hard-nosed team.
Just like outwork you and
outwork you, out-effort you, relentless, just constant working all over the field. And it's hard to beat teams like that. Yeah, that are constantly working hard. And like I said, they had players that can hurt you and can affect you when caught off guard.
Next one, we have the very Chicago Fire team that they beat in the ensuing year. But the Fire team is from 2000 to 2003. Notable midfielder in that team is Jesse Marsch, coincidentally, the current coach of the Canadian men's national team. They won the U.S. Open Cup twice, 2000, 2003, and also in 2003 they won the Supporters Shield. So this is post Bob Bradley era for them. What do you remember about this team? Similar style, hardworking? Were they more flary? Did they have good midfield control with our boy Jesse in there?
Wow, you're taking me back to memory lane, man. Wow. Chicago Fire, yeah, I remember beating them in MLS Cup final too. In LA.
We're going to have a reoccurring theme as we go down this list. DeRo's probably beaten them.
Ante Razaf, a striker, a young Damani Ralph. Man, they actually had a stacked team. They had a young Stoichkov there, believe it or not. Man, this is really taking me back. But good team, very good team. But again, didn't really, I guess, couldn't put it together.
Yeah.
In cup matches, but in terms of league play, they dominated and were very, very solid teams. Very solid teams.
And this is since that 03 Supporters Shield I'm reading here is that Chicago, the Fire, have only captured one more trophy since that time. It's been almost 20 22 years almost.
Yeah, it's a great market.
Great
Chicago
market,
Fire
yeah.
at the time was obviously playing in the city. They moved around quite a bit, which lost kind of that organic fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're back in the city. Of course, haven't really found their rhythm, haven't found their identity as yet. But a club that has definitely strong roots in this league, a club that has definitely helped build the league to where it is today.
Oh, yeah.
So, but back then, I remember them being very, very strong.
Number 7, Columbus Crew, 08 to 11. 08 MLS Cup, 08 Supporters Shield, 09 Supporters Shield. Guys like Alejandro Moreno, who's currently an analyst for ESPN FC, was a striker in that team at the time. What do you remember about that team?
Good team. Scaleto, what a player. Argentinian. I think he got MVP that year as well. Player that could hurt you any part of the team. Great magician in the midfield. Can create plays, can finish plays, and everybody just fed off his energy. Obviously his career speaks for itself, and the volume speaks for itself. But they were a team that were very deep.
Yeah.
Team that had gave us, when I was at TFC at the time, gave us a lot of problems. We had a hard time competing against them, home and away.
What was the problem? Like, what was the difficulty? Just a skilled team overall?
I just think a more quality side, a more committed side. And TFC, because it started in 2007, still trying to establish itself and establish its culture and identity.
Number 6, LAFC, 19 to 22, so fairly recent. 19 Supporters Shield, 22 Supporters Shield, and of course, to cap off that, the 2022 MLS Cup. I think the main guy here is Carlos Vela with the MLS Golden Boot and MVP in 2020. Diego Rossi also won the MLS Golden Boot before helping the team to their Supporters Shield. And then, Bob Bradley's been all over this list so far as well. So, this is after your playing days. So as a spectator, what did you enjoy watching about this team?
Vela for sure. 20 goal seasons from that point till now. Player still offers a lot. Boanga, who came in, team that's heavily stacked. Shout out to the ownership group. They really did a great job of establishing a clear identity from early. Of course, you have Gareth Bale that played on there. You had so many.
Chiellini, I think, even played there as well.
You have world-class players playing there, and they just are relentless in terms of finding the right identity to fit in with their style of play, and players that have bought into not only the culture of the club, but also living in LA is not easy. All right, but they found a good way to manage both, and their success shows it.
I think that was also the era where Vela and Ibra were beefing, because Ibra had came over
to LA Galaxy, rivalry
to LA Galaxy, and then Ibra was like just rinsing and being like, "You're whatever years old playing in the MLS," or some shit like that, and they just started beefing. But obviously Vela ended up winning the day, because I just remember them being a far better team than the Galaxy at that time.
Yeah, it's hard to be 20 goal plus season. You can say what you want in age about a player, but again, the stats don't lie.
The results are tangible, right?
Always go back to stats. It's he keeps putting up numbers that justify his ability to score goals, as well as why he's a force to reckon with year after year in this league.
At number 5, finally some hometown love, ladies and gentlemen. Toronto FC, Greg Vanney's TFC from 2016 to 2018. I'll read off their accolades: 2016 Canadian Championship, 2017 MLS Cup, 17 Supporters Shield, and 17 and 18 ensuing Canadian Championships back-to-back. Guys like Sebastian Giovinco, Jose Altidore, Michael Bradley. What a team. What a team. What do you remember about this team? Because obviously you're very close and connected with TFC. That was, at least for us as fans, it was a golden era of the team, a very likable team, a hardworking team, skilled. What was it like watching that team and being with that team up close and personal?
Yeah, I think that team was testament of when you spend in the right areas, the result of getting players that buy in, and players that are committed, and players that wanna win. For me, it was an amazing era, because I got to see my hometown lift the MLS Cup trophy.
Hell
and
yeah.
to be part of that experience was special. Was one that everyone in the football community was extremely proud of. And to go, I think 3 times to the finals, win it 1 time, but still to be in that environment. And it was really special era for Toronto FC. As you mentioned, winning the league, winning Canada Shield back to back. So, special time for TFC, a special era of football. Javinko, the Atomic Ant, very
I forgot about that nickname.
Very, very creative.
Great one.
It's a special player that can create goals on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need service to create goals. He can create goals on his own. And of course, you have Josie Altidore, size, presence, again, good finisher. And then Bradley in the midfield, and the rest of the team. Also, young Rosario, Vasquez, the magician in the midfield, knowing when to dictate the tempo, the pace of the game, when to make the right passes. For me, he was one of our most key pieces on that team that has been heavily overlooked in the terms of what he contributed. Yeah. Right? He wasn't putting up the crazy numbers, but in terms of how he just controlled that midfield and controlled the tempo and the flow of our game and did all the little things necessary to create results, was a real treat to watch. It was great to be a fan, to also work with the club, but yes, as an ambassador, but to be a football fan and watch these players perform week in, week out.
It was such a fun team to watch, such grit, and the fans were crazy. I don't remember, the fans were crazy back then. Very cool team to watch, and what a good partnership Altidore and Javinko had. Just totally opposite sort of styles of play, totally different purposes and ways to be effective on the field, and they just played so well off of each other. And Vasquez I totally agree with that sentiment. I've been saying this for years. He was, I would say, in my eyes, he was definitely one of the 3 most important players in the team in terms of, because when he was out of the lineup,
he was the glue.
It changed how we played.
Completely. He was the glue. He knew how to find the right pass, the right weight. He was very patient in the midfield, picked his moments, created space, pulled out his space. He was really very high level football IQ player.
Yeah, very intelligent. On number 4, we remember those great rivalries they had with Seattle, the Seattle Sounders, 14-19. The only thing putting them ahead of TFC is that they won 2 MLS Cups in that stretch, as opposed to just 1. But you remember their goaltender Stefan Fry. That is a guy with a bunch of European pedigree. Played at Florence, played in the Premier League. Great team, and that was a great rivalry. What do you remember about that team specifically that matched up so well with TFC?
Just two dominant forces, 2 dominant clubs, 3 years in a row in the final. Obviously, Seattle winning 2 of those, as you mentioned. They just knew what it took to get the result. Seattle organization is they continuously, and they don't overspend like a lot of these other clubs do, but they find the right balance within their team. And when you look at their team from front to back in that era, Montero, what his name is? Montero up top, and they had, like you say, they had Stefan Fry in the defense. Their defensive line is solid.
Jordan Morris.
Yeah, Jordan Morris up top, a young Jordan Morris at that. Midfield was well balanced, creative. Just a well-balanced, well-oiled machine, and the coaching staff did a great job of making all the players understand the objective and buying into what they're trying to do. And I think their selection process, even up to today, has been pretty spot on.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I didn't like the team at all because they were playing TFC, but they were of the American mirror image of what TFC were. They spent well. They had a really good fan base. Shitty weather, playing in an open air stadium in a town that rains a lot versus a town that snows a lot.
Amazing fan base.
Amazing fan base in Seattle across all sports.
52,000 fans.
Just style of play, grit, hardworking, good amount of skill, lethal pieces. moments of brilliance from different areas in the pitch compared to TFC. They had a lot of moments of brilliance from Sebastian Frey, who I remember keeping them in a final against us multiple times where we could have won the game, and he just pulled out a save out of the top drawer.
Schmetzer, yeah, I mean, him and his staff. I mean, obviously my son's playing there now, so I get a different view on how they manage players and handle players, and it's definitely an eye opener to see how well they really focus on details and the information that they continuously provide to the younger players and to the players, and it shows on the field, and they've continuously have been winning from that day on. Last year, of course, they lost in the finals. This year, they won the Nations League Cup against Messi. Obviously, my son scored the game-winning goal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a club that's continuously in the conversation since 2016?
Well, this is even going to 2014. So they're like they've kept themselves elevated,
relevant.
Which is very hard to do.
Extremely hard.
Yeah. On number 3, again, a more recent team, the Columbus Crew, from 20 to 24. 2 MLS Cups in that, 1 Campeones Cup, and then a Leagues Cup. Talk to me about this team, because this is the first time I've seen the Campeones Cup on any accolade for any team here. That's a big achievement.
Huge. And Columbus, led by Wilfred Nancy and, of course, Nagbe. He actually retires this year. Great career for him, and I think he was the backbone of that team in the midfield and really was the glue of the team. But I think Nancy came in there from Montreal and really established a culture. Obviously, a lot of TFC guys there as well to mention in the back office that done a great job in terms of formulating a winning culture, and it was the same group of guys that left with Vanny. That Vanny went to LA and they went to Columbus and kind of created that winning culture in Columbus, and they went on to win some big major trophies for this league, and just a well-rounded, balanced team and a committed team. Again, another team that if you look at it, you don't see like quote-unquote maybe big world-class names, but what you see is grit, hard work, determination, players that bought in, players that didn't let up for a second on the field, and players that were committed to grinding out results.
Next up, a decade earlier, LA Galaxy from 2010 to 14. We had a conversation about Robbie Keane before. David Beckham, Landon Donovan, 0-10-11 Supporters Shield, and then 3 MLS Cups in 3 years from 11, 12 to 14. I mean, it's hard to beat that when you have, especially a combination like Keno, David, or Beckham and Donovan, who are all sort of different players, to come together and win 3 MLS Cups in the span of 3 years is craziness.
Yeah, I mean, the pedigree at that time was unbelievable. Keane, Donovan, Beckham, and I believe, that whole team was stacked. Defensively, they were stacked, and they knew how to win. And I think when Becks first came here, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was some there was a little tension between him and Landon, but they put their differences aside, or maybe they didn't, or whatever, however that worked out, but they still found a way to win. And when you have caliber on your field and caliber that could change a game in any given moment or second, then you're looking at the result of a successful organization and a successful franchise team.
Before we go to number 1, would you rank Messi's Inter Miami at any point in this list? Because obviously we're talking about all-time teams, and Inter Miami have just won the MLS Cup. How and where would you place them given the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years? Let's say 2 years. Where would you rank them on this list, if at all? Because there's a lot of accomplishments on this list that they don't have.
It's hard because they just, it's kind of recent. Yeah, they won. They won I think, was it the Nations League?
Yeah,
they won that last year. They won this year, so it's still premature for them to be in that category when you're talking about teams that won like 3 years in a row,
exactly,
4 years in a row, right? So even though arguably one of the world's greatest players to grace any league,
definitely,
Messi, to be here, and DePaul and Busquets and Jordi Alba and Suarez. But the reality is that, I mean, when you look at the length of success with some of these teams over a course of a span of 3, 4, 5 years, it's hard to compete with that.
No, 100%. I'm just, in my mind, I'm imagining a scenario and wondering how they would line up against this LA Galaxy team or the TFC team of old and who would win the game. And I think out of all the matchups, this Galaxy team would be a very good one. I think it's skill-based. They're both skilled teams. Inter Miami isn't overly physical. They rely on their technical ability. And the same can be said about this Galaxy team. Now, where I think Miami would fail would be against our boys in that era. We're a bit physical, and Seattle especially. I don't know if you agree with that at all or what.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it would be interesting to see for sure. It would be, I think Seattle's would definitely be put up there because of, again, from 2014 to now, it's every year it's been a trophy in the cabinet somewhere, whether that's league, whether that's any tournament that they're in, they've been relevant. They've continuously made the CONCACAF Club Championships. I think within that span, they've been to 4 or 5 MLS Cup finals, 1, 2. So it's hard to compete with that.
That's quite the trophy room, but if you think that's good, this one is crazy. DC United from 96 to 99. In 1996, treble, MLS Cup, Supporters Shield, US Open Cup. 97, double, Supporters Shield, MLS Cup. 98, CONCACAF Champions Cup, Copa Interamericana. And 1999, another MLS Cup. First of all, their trophy room is far bigger and more filled than any other team on this list. This is a 3-year span, and they've won 3, 6, 8 trophies in that time period. Is that unheard of? Is this the best team that has ever graced the field?
Well, the stats show that.
I know, yeah.
You can't argue against the stats. I mean, again, you're talking about a time when MLS just started, a team that was completely stacked with Bolivian national team players, Moreno, Echeverri, U.S. national team players, Eddie Pope, Jeff Agus, Diaz Arce was on that team as well. John Harkes was on that team, U.S. national team player. Team was loaded with talent, right? And in a team where other teams, El Pibe, of course, the great Valderrama, this team had talent all over the field.
Yeah.
Very hard to beat. Arguably, you could put the Earthquakes on there too.
That was my next question.
So, but what disrupted us, or the Dynamo, was that we're a team rolled into one because we got relocated to Houston. So technically we have 4 championships, 4 MLS Cups, right? With Supporters Shield, with plus, right? So it's hard because we'll never be in that conversation because what happened? We got relocated in 2006, where we went on to win back-to-back.
But you
trophies.
figure that at this time, an analyst would look at that and say, well, this is essentially the exact same team. Why aren't we adding them to this list?
Yeah, I mean, but it's not different clubs, right? So I think it's based off of club success. So when you look at the club's success, I mean, yes, Earthquakes, Supporters Shield,
well, let's do this.
2 MLS Cups.
Let's do this right now then. So from 2001, right, to 2007, we'll call it. That's 4 MLS Cups in, call it 6 seasons, I guess. Right? 6 seasons?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about those teams. What do you think would make those teams, put those teams above some other teams on this list in terms of, because we talked about it last episode. You said, like, you guys had this crazy bond, a brotherhood, and you all knew your roles and you all played very well off of each other. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we had talents. San Jose, when I first went there, you had Jeff Agus, that obviously came from DC United. Yeah. He already won 4 championships. One ended up leaving with 6 or 5 or 6, can't remember. So load of experience there. Young Landon, who just came on the scene. You had Ronald Cerritos, El Salvadorian international. You had Ronnie Eklund, Danish international, played at Barca. Yeah. You had players. We were a stacked team. Myself, Canadian international, Pat Onstad, Canadian international, Joe Cannon. So in that era, we had so many players that had of high quality, high caliber. Richard Mulrooney, Brian Ching, Ricardo Clark in the midfield. That's a span over, of the eras of players coming in, players coming out. Yeah. But one thing we, like you said, we had was team camaraderie, and we had a clear understanding of everybody's roles and responsibilities. Yeah. Everybody bought in, and it's hard to beat teams like that. And that's why we went on to win so much in that 6 years, 4 championships.
What keeps you going? I mean, you've won 2 with San Jose. There's a bit of a gap. The first season after you've won the 2, are you tired from playing more football than anybody else has in that span, at least in your conference? Or I imagine you're still equally as motivated, but what makes you want to get back there when you've already done it?
More the feeling.
Yeah.
The feeling of success, the feeling of winning. You always want to win. And every time we played in the game, no matter what the score was, we always found a way to make it back. Crazy story. In 2003, we were down 2-0 against LA in the first round of playoffs. We came home, went down again 2-0, and ended up coming back to win the game 5-4. So it's just that mentality that we had, that diehard mentality that it's very hard to beat. And we had that all over the field, all over the team. And then, 2005, we go and clean up the league. We go into the playoffs. Every playoffs we went into was already like, oh, we're gonna win this, right? So when you sometimes come with that mentality, teams that want to beat you, everybody wants to beat you, your team to beat, and you take the foot off the pedal, or you get a little complacent, and then before you know it, you're on the outside looking in. So definitely a team that should be a part of that list.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would probably slot them in, just given the fact that nobody else on this list has won 4 MLS Cups in the span of 6
but
years.
Even San Jose, in the 4 or 5 years, 2 MLS Cups and a Supporter Shield.
Well, you can break it up if you want. You can do San Jose and Houston, or you can do them together.
Right.
Because essentially it's the same, as you said, it's a similar team.
Not a lot of teams that won back-to-back MLS Cups on there.
Not a lot of teams that did back-to-back.
LA, I think, did 3.
3 and 4 years LA did with the Beckham years that we just covered.
Right.
But I wanted to keep on this discussion. There's a lot of dynasties in sports right now. And what I've noticed is that they'll go back-to-back or something, right? And then they'll lose the following year. And then the year after that, they come back a little crazier, right? A little more hungry. They're smelling a little more blood in the water. So for you, obviously, you win with San Jose, and then there's this 2-year gap where DC United is winning, and the Galaxy are winning, and you have to sit there and you kind of on the sidelines and just watch it. Is it almost like feeling like, since you were so dominant, is it like, that's my trophy, why the hell are they lifting it? I want to get that back. Is the drive more higher than it ever was? For sure.
There's nothing like winning and then sitting and watching another team win when you know that should be you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've never lost in a final, so it was always just find a way to get to the final. Because once we were at the final, we had all the belief that we'd come out with success. But it's all obviously getting the journey to get to the finals, and that's always the hard part, especially at the highest level. There's so many things that come into play. There's so many, bits and pieces that sometimes get overlooked that could be a deciding factors. But the fact of the matter is, you never want to see a team hold that trophy when in your gut you should have been that team winning that trophy.
I still can't believe, and I've known this for a while, but I can't. Every time you say it, you've never lost in a final. Do you know that's a crazy stat to hold as a professional athlete? You know how many players have gone to finals year after year and haven't won it, or they have like a 1-in-something record? What's the key to that success? How do you manage to keep the mindset of, I'm not losing in this final, I'm not losing in any final?
Well, I don't want to sound any way, but not only did I not lose in a final, I scored or assisted in every final I played in.
So you're just clutch.
Canadian. Yeah.
You just built different.
I guess they called me sure shot when I played basketball, because when the time was going down, I always had to make the last shot. And that was always my kind of thing, even in basketball in grade 9, grade 8. That was kind of my role. and I felt my responsibility. But I don't know. It's just the mentality that you just train, because again, when people are in the off seasons, I never had an off season. It was only on season. So I think mentally I was prepared way before that final even started. Yeah. I was prepared in the preseason. I was prepared in the so-called off season for that final. So when I was there, it was no doubt in my mind that I was gonna win. And of course, I was doing things that other athletes weren't willing to do. I had my own doctor come and treat me and take care of me, and making sure I was, fully charged when it was game time. I went above and beyond what traditional footballers were doing at that time, and taking care of myself and my body and my health, and just making sure that when that whistle blew, I gave everything I had, or I was in a position to give everything I had, so there was nothing left on the field.
For a huge game like that, how do you find yourself? How do you regulate your emotions, get yourself locked in to be able to perform at the highest level? Aside from having your doctor prep you, aside from having, we talked about way earlier on the musical state of being, what are some of your routines that you're getting into the mode to be like, yep, been here before, performed back then, gonna do it again?
Visualization was key. Meditation, visualization, just seeing myself go through going through the plays, going through creating scenarios in my head. Any negative, I would block it out. Any doubt, I would block it out. Any fear, I would block it out, and just focus on the narrative of us winning, visualizing winning, holding the trophy, visualizing scoring the goal. Like, I visualized that. Every goal I scored, any assists I made in a championship, every cup I hold, I already saw me holding the trophy hours and hours before the game. So it's just channeling that energy towards that, for me, was paramount in deciding whether we'll win or we'll lose. Now, it's a collective, right? So it's not just a single sport. It's not like it's tennis, right? So it's everybody's involved. There's players as well and stuff like that. But I always I always knew if I'm on the field, we are going to win. And I never doubted that.
That's an awesome mentality, man. Let's shift gears a little bit here. It's going to be Christmas in a few days, in about a week's time. What is on your wish list for 2026? Your football Christmas wish list. What do you got for me? 3 things, if you can.
Always my kids, and making sure health and strength, and they have a good year ahead.
Yeah.
And just getting them ready. I tell them the same thing. There's no such thing as off season. You're too young to have off seasons.
Very true.
When you're older, you can think about having off season. But while you're doing this, because it's such a short time, there's no time to take your foot off the pedal, because there's always someone younger, someone hungrier coming up the pipe, wanting to take your shine, take your spot. Someone older than you trying to keep their spot. So it's just, fine tuning and sharpen your blade in silence. And then, of course, just getting ready for next year's World Cup, and making sure that, I have all the energy that I can to not only provide the support and helping with the World Cup initiative as an ambassador, but also on my academy, my foundation side, just making sure that we're continuously growing, building, and preparing as well, because it's again, as I keep saying, football is going to be in a place we've never seen it before, and it's important time to capitalize on that opportunity to evolve the game, to grow the game, and to be a part of that, or to have my hand in that. I'm really excited about.
Lovely. I would say a healthy Team Canada ahead of 2026.
100%.
A healthy and prosperous Team Canada.
Well, as we see what Alphonso Davies just done last week.
That's what I'm talking about.
Coming back healthy.
I want him fully.
He's flying
100%.
on all cylinders. And when you get treatment at the Bayern treatment, you're going to come back.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're gonna come back probably healthier than you left.
Faster, stronger. Yeah.
I honestly, dude, I can't believe it how fast he still is after all these injuries. I mean, like you pointed out earlier that he's only tore his ACL this one time.
German engineering, buddy.
It's a massive injury, and he's flying down the wing.
Yeah.
My second wish for Christmas football wish list. Man U to win a few more games. Just a few more games.
Who?
Man U. Just a few, just a few more games. Just a couple more games. I don't know if you said they drew Bournemouth 4-4 yesterday. I was watching the game here, watching the game. I was like, I literally turned it on from halftime. The score was 2-1. By the time I turned the game on after halftime, it was 3-2 Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck happened here? Then they went up in the 80th, and it ended up being 4-4. Point being, win a game against the team you're supposed to win a game against. And then last wish would be...
Well, I definitely hope, I wish that TFC gets some good signings.
I was going to say that.
For sure.
A very productive off-season transfer window, sort of rejigging of TFC. I think it would just be amazing for TFC to be really good in the year that we have a World Cup coming. I think the fans are craving it. As we discussed many, many times, this city is absolutely starving for a championship. If it comes in the form of football, bring it on, baby.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And many cities that are hosting the World Cup, our sentiments are the same. Yeah. They're thinking exactly the same we are, and they have to think that way. So I know MLS next year is going to be packed with talent, teams hungry to prove themselves, players fighting for positions on their national teams. Yeah. So it's going to be an exciting March, April, May leading into that World Cup.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Can't wait.
All right, yo. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, yo.
All right, yo. Thank you very much for listening to the latest episode of DeRo and the Diehard podcast. We'll be back next Friday, which is Christmas, with a short little micro podcast just to keep you joyous in the holiday occasion. And we'll see you next week. DeRo.
Stay warm, stay healthy. Health is wealth. And keep watching that football. Go Canada. Go Toronto World Cup Initiative 2026. We're weeks away from 2026. Have a good holidays. Happy New Year's. C'est la vie.